Hello, welcome back to Adventures with Autism. So here we are again. It's new car time. So I did a video 2 and a bit years ago when we got our Sorento. We had a brand new Kia Sorento. So that lasted 2.5 years, nearly 60,000 miles we did with that. And we've upgraded. So this is our new Kia EV9 GT-Line S version in Pacific matte blue. So it's got a lovely matte blue paint on it. We've been waiting for this car. I think they announced the concept in November 2021. So not long after we actually got the Sorento, they announced the concept for this. We ordered it last July and we picked this up about a week ago, 10 days ago we picked this up. So it's done just over 500 miles we've had it. And you might be able to tell, especially with this little green bit here, it's fully electric. So this is our first fully electric car. We had the Sorento before, that was a plug-in hybrid. So it did a little bit of an electric, still had your petrol engine. This, fully electric. It's got a 99.8 kilowatt hour battery. It's rated at just over 300 miles range, fully charged. Obviously, it's been a little bit less recently because it's been cold. So we haven't really had enough time or distance to test full range yet, but so far it's doing us well. We're charging it at home. We've done a little bit of public charging, but we are really enjoying it. It's a big car, I will say. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to do a video reviewing the car from every little angle. There's loads of videos online doing that. What I want to do is a video about how we're using it as a family of 5. 3 children, 2 adults, plus another adult occasionally. Now, the EV9 comes in 2 versions. You either get the 7-seat with the bench seat like we had before, or, like we have, we've got the 6-seat version. So in a minute, we'll have a look inside. It's actually 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, 2 in the back. But I'm hoping you can agree with us as I move it around. It's a lovely looking car. Pacific matte blue, so it's got a lovely matte paint. Obviously being full electric, there's no grille at the front, so you've got this digital Tiger front. You've got fantastic, nice big front lights. The one thing we found that we like about these lights, it's got adaptive full main beam. So previously our car had adaptive main beam where if it detected the car, it will turn the main beam off. This goes one step further. It's got these cube lights and it actually turns off little bits of light as cars come towards you. So if a car's coming towards you, it'll say, right, where's that car? I'm going to turn off main beam just for that car. Everywhere else is main beam. So that's been really great at night. Especially at this time of year, it gets dark quite early. It means we can use main beam, we get the most out of these headlights. So I'll have a look around, we'll have a wander around. You'll see you've got these handles here that come out. And the one thing we found as a family, our kids can get impatient. So what they'll do, especially in the previous car, they'll run up to the car, I've not been able to unlock it, and they'll start yanking on the handle trying to open it. Of course, it's locked, so they'll just start yanking it, and I'm really worried they're going to break it. At the moment, the car's unlocked. That's why the handle's out. If I lock the car, you'll see these handles going flush. So there's nothing they can yank on. So from a family perspective, this is fantastic. There's nothing for them to yank on to try and open the door. They can't come and yank on it and try and open it and potentially break it. They go in, they're hidden. This happens when they're driving, when the car's locked. We love it. And as soon as you unlock it, either if I come up close to it, or if I come and just unlock it there, they come out. You've got your charging port at the back here. Now, coming from the Sorento, had just a manual charging port, just like an old petrol cap. You press a button and it flips open. This one, fully electric charging port. So in the old Sorento, we might drive off. If that was open, it would bing at you saying the charging door's open. You'd have to stop, get out, close it. Be a nightmare. This one, fully electric. Press the button, it closes. I can do that from the inside as well. I can do it remotely, and we'll go into that in a bit. As we come around, nice big back space. Again, you've got these lovely lights here. They're really nice. One thing that's changed, when you put the reversing lights on, this no longer dings at you. The Sorento, it had those reversing sounds, like a lorry, bing, 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 as you're coming back. This doesn't do that anymore. But it's got better reversing lights. The Sorento had one little reversing light down here. You could barely see it half the time. This one, proper reversing lights, so maybe it's not needed. You've got bigger windows at the back. So we'll have a look inside. So the 7-seat Sorento, these windows at the back were quite small. So people sat in the back, they didn't have a lot to look through. Obviously much bigger at the back now. So when they're sat in the back, they can see a lot more. And we'll have a look inside in a bit and we'll see how much more light they've got. 21-inch wheels. One downside, because we've gone for the GT Line S and it's on the GT line below it, they've got 21-inch wheels. So we're going to get a little bit worried about getting these replaced if they get punctured or damaged or anything like that, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. Only the base model, the Air, has the 19-inch wheels, but the GT-Line, GT-Line S, 21-inch wheels. So it's lovely, great. It's going to be expensive when we have to replace them, but I say we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We are going to have to buy more roof bars because these have got the raised roof rails. The previous car had them sort of indented in, so it's a different type of roof rack, and the roof feet we're going to have to get. But again, we're going to have to look into that. So we'll have a look inside. We'll see what we think. We'll get the kids in. We'll have them sit in their seats, and hopefully you like the inside as much as we do. Okay, so we've had a look around the outside of the car. Now let's have a look at the inside. So we'll try and get in. Obviously, there's no actual button here in the Sorento. In the Sorento, we had a physical button here. And so we've got this little notch, it's sort of a touch-sensitive bit. Because I've got the key in my pocket. I've also got another key, but we'll get onto that in a minute. I can just come up, unlock it. That's fine. I don't have to worry about getting the key out of my pocket. So let's have a look inside. Let's sit in. So because it's fully electric, I have got loads of space in here. There's no more drive shaft going down the middle, anything like that. So all of this is dedicated to space. So I've got loads of space down at my feet here. I've got some storage space here. I've got cups here. I've got more storage space here. I've got my wireless charging pad here. And one thing that's changed, especially from the Sorento, is we used to have everything here to do with changing gears and changing drive modes, etc. So drive mode, terrain mode's actually moved on to my steering wheel. If you look here, I've got a special stalk that comes out. I've got my normal two for washers and wipers and indicators, etc. I've got a third one here. All of my driving controls are actually on here. So I've got my start-stop button here, and then I can turn this to change drive, neutral, park, and then park at the bottom, and then your reverse. So it's all moved off the centre, gives us much more space in here. I've still got a couple of bits on here to do with parking sensors, and then we've got a fingerprint reader, and we'll come onto that in a minute, but nearly everything is now here, including you've got your seat warmers here, and you've got the passenger ones as well. And we've also got your steering wheel warmer. And one thing they've added, which is fantastic, they've actually got 2 levels. One thing we found in the Sorento, it had on or off. And it would often get really warm, and we'd have to turn it off and then back on again. And this has got your 2 settings. So it does make it a little bit easier. And then you've actually got massage settings here. If you've got a long trip, you've got some massage settings here. So we'll have a look around the rest of the car. I'll come to the driving controls in a minute. Like I said, I'm not going to go massively into it because this doesn't affect the family side of it. I can leave other YouTubers and other reviewers to look at the actual ins and outs. The one thing it does have, especially for a family, is this heads-up unit here, and it actually tracks your eye movements. And what that does, it makes sure you're awake, make sure you're paying attention. And especially if you're on longer journeys and you've got the kids and you're having to pay attention to them, this will ding at you and say, are you looking at the road? Now, a lot of people do find that annoying, and sometimes I do as well, especially if sometimes I'll drive like this and I'll block it, it'll ding at me. But as long as you're watching the road, it won't ding at you, so you're fine. So if you're complaining that it's dinging at you all the time, it just means you're not watching the road. So from a family perspective, from a safety perspective, I think that's great. It means you are keeping your family safe at all times. And you've got other few warning things going on here. You've got speed warnings, etc., lane keep assist. They can be turned off, but they do reset every time. So we'll have a look around. We'll go into the back. So as we go into the middle seats, you can see they've got their iPads already hung up. And you can see here, we've got our 2 middle seats. So instead of having a bench row, we've just got 2 seats here. So what this means is the space in the middle. They've got a bit more space. The seats are bigger themselves, and they're really enjoying it. They've got separate armrests that comes down here. That's adjustable as well. And it means there's no more arguing about who gets to sit in the middle. Yes, we've lost a seat, and it just means we have to have a boot seat up more. But you know what? It saves so many more arguments. There's no more arguments about who's sitting in the middle, who's sitting where. They have their own set seat, which is great. So if you want to pull back a bit, One thing we've got, the 6-seater version does. Now, this isn't available in all countries. And in some countries they have options, but in the UK, the 6-seat version, these seats actually turn. They're adjustable. So I move these off the floor, and they can do two different ways. You can either, you've got a little lever down here, turn it out 90 degrees to face out like that. So if it's raining, if you want to get out the sun for a bit and you still want to have the door open, get a bit of fresh air in, turn it like this, they can sit, get a bit of fresh air. One other big advantage, for us, the mother-in-law is disabled. Unfortunately, she does have severe MS, so she struggles to get in and out of the car. So these will make life a lot easier for her. We can turn this seat, we can get her sat in, the seat belt's attached to the seat, it's not attached to the A-frame. Great big handle here for her to grab onto to help. We can get her in, sit down, strap her in, and then literally come along, move this, and she's in. It makes life a lot easier for her to get in and out. The other thing this will do, if, say, it is raining, we need to have a little family time in the car, we need to shut all the doors. If I come along, move this lever, and it actually turns 180 degrees. Now, both seats will do that. So I can turn it 180 degrees. All the kids can be sat down. We can drive like this if needs be. We haven't yet because I don't really want the kids getting all their feet on the seats, etc. Especially in a nice new car, we are struggling to keep it clean. But it's an option. I think we'll probably use this more when we're parked, especially because it'd be easier to keep an eye on the kids if they're facing forward. But we've got this option here. We can sit down, have some nice family time. They can play a game or something and get a little pop-up table to go in the middle. And they'll love it. Both seats will do that. But we'll come in, we'll split them back. We'll come round, we'll have a look at the boot. And we'll have a look at how much space is in there. We'll have a look at the boot seats as well. So again, power tailgate. Opens up just like we did before. Got some of our gear in here. So we've got the two boot seats up in here. Now what's changed is these are electrically operated now. So I've got buttons here. I can just go and press one of them and it drops the seat electrically. So no more having to get in to yank it up, to put it down, anything like that. And both of them will do the same. And in fact, I'm not going to do it now because they've got stuff in their seat, but we've also got a button. I think I can drop the left seat. I've got a button to drop the two middle seats as well electrically. Let's see, hopefully. So that just flips down. I'm not going to drop the other one because we've got his car seat in there. Now, the middle seats, you do have to physically lift them back up. They won't lift up automatically. But the rear seats, again, you've just got a button to press. And they will come up electronically. Now, again, our Sorento had two rear seats as well. But the boot was actually a lot smaller. So I can come in here and you can see how much space I've got here. Obviously, I've not filled it. We do have to lift the headrest up. It's fine. But there's loads of space in here. We can fit a suitcase in here quite easily. The Sorento, I reckon, maybe came to about here. So I reckon we've got maybe double the floor space that we had in the Sorento. Because the car's that little bit longer, so we managed to get this extra space out of it. One good thing they've thought of, I don't know how well you can see the boot mats. So from a family perspective, our boot used to get really mucky. Climbing in and out, chucking stuff in and out. Now, you could get a boot liner for the previous one, but that would only go if all the seats were down. There was no ins or outs, it was just that. And if I drop these two seats, what you can actually see, the mats are attached to the back of these seats. So there's a separate boot liner that just does the smaller boot, and then you've got the same style of mats that are actually attached to the back of these seats. So what that means is, when they're dropped, you've got a full boot liner, which is absolutely fantastic for us. No more getting boot liners in and out of the car, anything like that. We've always got boot liners attached, and we love it. It's absolutely fantastic. So I'm really glad they've thought about that through. Before we leave the boot, one good thing they've added, there's a 3-pin socket in the boot now. Fully electric car, so it's got vehicle to load capabilities. So that's charging things from the car, using the car battery. So if we need to go camping and we get stuck and we haven't got an electrical outlet, I can charge everything from the car. So I've got one here, and then we'll have a look in a bit. I've got an adapter that actually goes into the charging port of the outside as well. So I can use either of those to power fridges, chargers, anything like that. And it'll last a fair while. Like I say, it's a 99.8 kilowatt hour battery. And you can set the limits. So you can set it so it doesn't drain the car below 20%, for example, or you can adjust that. So there's no worry about killing the car and being stranded if we're using the vehicle to load. It's got those automatic cut-offs. So we'll come out, we'll shut the boot, and I'll show you a couple of other bits as well. So as it shuts, one thing I want to note before we leave this bit, I've actually got two rear cameras. I've got one up here, and I've got one just down here. Now obviously we used to have a reversing camera on the old car, and we've still got the two under the wing mirrors, and we've got one on the front as well. But on the back, there's two cameras, and we'll have a look at that in just a second. So we'll go back around to the driver's side, and we'll show you what's happening there. Okay, so we're now inside the car. Let's have a look at some of the features that we use as a family. It's got some really nice features, so let's have a look. So we'll get this turned on. Again, everything's down here, so we can get it turned on. Now, there's two drivers, and we're always driving this car. And we're always switching in between it. And there's profiles. Now, our previous car had profiles. We didn't use it extensively, but we are using it more on here. One thing is the driver settings. You get seat settings for 1 and 2. Because Emma's a lot shorter than me, we sit in completely different settings in the car. So with the electric seats, we don't have to worry about adjusting it all the time, trying to get in and out. We can just change that via the push of a button. But we actually have our own settings per profile. If I can go on here, I can swipe between them. Now, this is where the fingerprint sensor comes in. So you've got a little fingerprint sensor here. And if I go on here, verify my fingerprint, it goes into my profile. The other thing that this helps is with CarPlay or Android Auto if you've got it. Now, we did used to have it in the other car, but you had to be using a cable. When we first picked up this car, it was that. We had to use a cable, and there's a plug down here to use it via a cable. But we have since updated the software, so it's now got wireless Apple CarPlay. So what that means is I can get in the car, leave the phone in my pocket, come up here, and I've got CarPlay on here. What it also means is, down here, we've got a wireless phone charger. It's nice and big. I've got the big Pro Max here. I can sit it on there, charges the phone, and then I've still got my CarPlay, but I've not got to worry about cables dangling everywhere. It's one thing we did used to struggle with, is having cables here, there, and everywhere to charge everyone's phones, iPads, etc. When it does come to charging, there's loads of USB-C ports in this car. We've got two at the front here. We've also got the normal 12-volt socket there if we needed to. But as we go into the back, there's charging ports in the seats. And they're all USB-C, so there's two here, and there's two right in the back as well. And what we've actually found is they're fast enough to charge the kids' iPads. So the previous car had USB-A sockets everywhere. But what we found is they weren't really very fast. They'd be fine for phones, but when you're charging iPads, etc., they just weren't powerful enough. We found that these ones are absolutely fine. When we come into the middle, like we said, everything's moved from off here. We've still got your parking sensors here. So like your cameras, your auto parking. But what we've got is two great big cup holders here. One thing I will say, this one fits cans in absolutely fine, this front one. This back one's a bit bigger, so that's designed for like your bigger coffee cups. However, it doesn't hold cans. Now, me and Emma, we tend to drink from cans when we're driving, so it's not fantastic for two cans. So it's just something we've had to sort of work around. Sometimes there's a bit of rattling in there, but, you know, it's a minor grievance. So we'll close that. And what we'll do, I'll bring you up to this rear view mirror. So this has been an absolute game changer for us. So let me go back to this. It's a normal mirror. So it's a normal rear view mirror. I can adjust it and see out my rear view. Now what we found, if I pack up that boot, especially when we're camping, if I pack up that boot, I can't see anything out the rear view mirror. So this comes back to those two cameras I've got at the back. So one of them, the below one, that's your normal reversing camera. The other one, if I flick this forward, it's actually a rear view camera. So what that means is, I'll adjust it so I can see it a bit better. It's a camera view out the back. So it doesn't matter how much I've filled that back, I can still got a rear view. And it's been absolutely fantastic. We actually use this all the time. It takes a little bit of getting used to. When you're driving, sometimes you have to refocus onto that, especially once you're used to looking to a rear view mirror, where the focal point is a little bit further back. This one is right there because it is literally just a screen. But you know, you get used to it, and you've got some settings here. You can actually adjust the brightness. If you find it's a bit too bright, you can lower that down. You can lower the angle of the camera as well. And you can do this when you're driving, so if you need to raise it up, etc., you just get to exactly where you want it to. And we've actually found this has been really great. We'll look at the cameras around. So if I put it into, I don't want, yeah, there we go. So you've got your 360 camera. I mean, you can go around and you've got nice, great big features of seeing around the car. So this, and in the previous car as well, it's been absolutely fantastic for parking. It's a big car, it's 5 meters long. So it can take a little bit of finesse in the parking. I couldn't do it without these cameras. So you've got your normal parking sensors in there as well, but because you've got this 360 camera, I can see everything that's close to the car. So I couldn't see the front of my car if I'm parked here. With this, I can see it there. I can see exactly how close we are to things. You've got your normal reversing camera. One thing that we found is updated. Obviously, the camera quality is better from our previous car, but the camera is actually lower down, so we find that easier for reversing. And you can see if I put that into reverse, it comes up with your parking lines, and if I turn the wheels, it tells me where it's going to go. Everything like that. So all in all, it's a great car for a family. We'll go for a drive in a bit. We'll show you some of the features. We'll get the kids in the back. But I hope you like this car as much as we do, because it's been great. It's nice and quiet. It's really easy to drive. So some of the other things that have changed, we did have one big sunroof in the Sorento, and we had no end of issues with it, whether it was opening, closing, not closing, rattling, making a noise. And what they've actually changed, we've got 2 sunroofs in here now. So we've got the one up here. So this is for the drivers, and it's got a manual shutter. I can open and shut that, and then this front one, open, like any normal sunroof. But then if I look into the back, there's actually one for the kids, and I can open it. So the rear sunroof doesn't open, so it doesn't actually let the air in, but it does let the light in. It's got a manual or an electric blind at the back, and I can open and shut that from the front, and I can shut the front as well, obviously. So I think they've learned their lesson in having one big sunroof that's more liable to fail than having 2 smaller ones. Slightly less moving parts. Well, there's probably more, but there's not bigger moving parts and easier to brake, etc. Okay, so we're just going for a drive now. We've got the kids in the back. Point in, say hello, kids.
Hello. Hi.
So as you can see, they've got loads of room in there. It's nice and quiet. Obviously, an electric car, it is meant to be quiet. There is an option to turn on like artificial cabin noise for an engine. I'm not going to do it because it's just annoying. But you know, if you want an engine sound, it's there. I've actually got it on to maximum regen. So this car's got different levels of engine regeneration. And they've made it really easy to switch in between. You've got these paddles just here, and you can just jump up and down. You can lower it with the right one, make it up for the top one. I've got it on maximum, so it's actually called I-pedal. So it's literally put your pedal down to go, let your pedal off to stop. Then I don't actually need to use the brake on I-pedal unless it's obviously an emergency. It's one great thing about electric cars. Regeneration with maximum regen, once you're stopping, it actually recharges the battery, so it helps you get better efficiency out of the engine. So obviously this car's rated for just over 300 miles, I think 313 is it's rated for, because it is the all-wheel drive version. Obviously we're never going to get that. Here's some of that binging that we'll tell you about. So I've actually gone 2 miles an hour over the speed limit. So we've got cameras everywhere, and it recognises what the speed limit is. Again, I don't think it's a bad thing. I've had enough speeding tickets in my life for going 5, 6, 7 miles an hour over the speed limit. So that binging at me, I'm not going to complain. A lot of people, they do find it annoying, but you know, if you're driving at the speed limit, it doesn't go off. If it bings at you, let your foot off, it goes under the speed limit. Again, it's what you like to do. If you want it to drive, fine. But as a family car, I'm trying to keep my family safe. That's the most important thing. So if that's going to help me keep my family safe, I'm fine with it. So as we drive along, nice and quiet, we'll stop to some traffic lights here, and I don't use the brake at all. I just let my foot off and it'll stop automatically. One thing they've carried on over from the Sorento, which I do really like, and I'll indicate now, it's got your blind spot monitoring here. I don't know how well you can see that. So just here, there's a lovely camera, and they use that camera that's underneath the wing mirror, and it looks at my blind spot. So if there's a cyclist there or something like that, I can see really clearly. If I indicate right, it shows me the camera there as well. So it makes full use of all these cameras. Okay, so we're driving along, and it's quite a sunny sort of winter's day, so the sun's quite low. So again, it's one thing they've carried over from the Sorento. The rear cabins, or the rear windows, I should say, they've got built-in sun blinds. So if you want to film back to James, he'll show you how to put them up. So they're built into the window, so we don't have to worry about buying new ones. You just lift it up, it hooks on, and it's there. The kids love it. So I'm going to try a little bit of straight road here. One thing we used to struggle with in the Sorento, because it was, part electric, part petrol, sometimes you put your foot down, it couldn't really think about what to do. It would struggle. So if you're trying to do an overtake or trying to get away from a junction or something quicker like that, it would really struggle to think about what I'm going to do. So what I've got here, I've got a nice long straight bit of road, and I'm going to demonstrate. Oh, it's got some kick. I think this car's rated at 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, I think it is the all-wheel drive version. But it's the instant power, so it's not so much about how much power, it's that instant. You put your foot down, it goes. That's all electric cars do, but they've put in a fair battery in this, a fair motor. So it's nice being able to not have to worry about, if I overtake this car, is this car going to think? If I got to leave the extra space for the car to think about overtaking, it's just there. And I'm doing 50 at the moment. So again, we're on a little bit of a drive now, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass the microphone back, and we'll let the kids have a tell you what they think about the car, what they think about it. So what I want you to do, guys, I want you to tell me what you think about this car, how it compares to our old car, what do you think about the space in here, what do you think about having a fully electric car, okay?
So I really like the car because we've got a lot more space than we did in the other car.
What do you like about the seats?
I like because we've got this one of our grandmas, and she has a wheelchair, and one thing that these seats do, they spin that way, so then it's easier to get her in the car.
What do you think about having your own seat?
I really like it because I don't have to sit in the middle anymore, because in our old car there used to be 2 back seats and 3 seats here. I think there's one thing that James wants to tell you, but he doesn't really want to say, so should I say it for you? So we like these bits because we used to have to clip them on like that, and James used to have to go all the way forwards, but now he can just go like this and clip it on, so it's much more easier.
What about when you sit? Do you always sit in that seat, Louise?
Not always.
Where do you sit?
Back there, so these 2 seats go up and I sit in this one.
What do you like about the rear seats here? What do they do especially?
They recline.
How do you recline them?
There's a button here and you recline it.
Where's your secret pocket?
Then I like the car because there's a secret pocket down here and there's a little bit down over here.
Are you going to show them that bit when we're out of the car?
One thing that I like as well, it had it in the old car as well, there's a heated seat, and then there's it's like to make the seat cooler. So say it was like a really, really hot day, we could put the seat that makes the seat colder. But say if it was a really cold day, we've done it before, so if it was like a really, really cold day, we would put our heated seats on. I like the car because the handles are I can't yank on them because they go in and when it's locked, and it goes out when it's unlocked. I like the car because we've got our own AC up here, and we've got our own vents here. We just need to push on one bit and then push on another bit.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to try and do a demonstration of the remote smart park feature. So we're in our local car park. We'll come down here, we'll press and hold this button here. Then on screen it comes up saying searching for a parking space. So what we do, we just drive forward slowly, and then hopefully it will find a parking space. We do find sometimes it can be a bit picky. So there's, it's found a nice parking space there. So what we do, we say, right, we'll select parking type. And we've got two options. We can either do it from inside the car where we press and hold this button, or we can do it remotely. So what we're going to do, we need the key for this. We're going to get out the car. So, control parking from outside of the vehicle, shift to P. So I press P. So I'll leave the vehicle, keep the key, and we'll close the doors. So I've got my smart key, and on the here, I've got buttons that I can press and reverse. So hopefully, if I press and hold this, you'll see, it will park itself. We'll keep an eye on it, and it should magically park itself. So obviously it does it nice and slowly. I'll follow it, I'll have a look around. It's a big car, so it can be difficult to park. And it uses the parking sensors, you see, it's got nice and close to this one, but it's managed to not hit it. You see, it moves itself backwards and forwards into the space. And it will actually park itself. So this is ideal if you're in a tighter car park and you're struggling to get into the space. You just do it itself. Like I say, you can do it from inside the car. You can do it from the outside the car like we're doing now. And you see it's getting nice and close to this car. And it should park itself, just like that. And then what you do, just turn it off. And you're done. The reverse of that, if you get completely stuck and you're blocked in, you can get it to move itself out of the car parking space. So for the reverse of getting out of the space, if we have a look down there, I'm obviously quite tight to this new car, this other car. I'm not going to be able to get in there without damaging it. So what I can do, I can actually use this to get it out of the space. So what I'll do, I'll make sure the car's locked, and I will, again, use my smart key. It's turned itself on. I'll wait for this Tesla to move. And I've got a button here. I use the button to reverse it. This one, I can just press and hold it. And it will move itself forward out of the space. So again, it uses the parking sensors, so it won't hit anything coming out of it. It just won't move if there's too much space. So what I could do, move it forward. I can now get into the car. So I just unlock the car, and you can jump in. Okay, slight change of location. There's just a couple more bits we needed to talk about. I forgot to put them a little bit earlier, so I'll have a look. First things first, we've got a frunk. In this car, obviously because it's purely electric, we've actually got a bit of space in the frunk. So I'll have a look at that now. It's a great bit of space. What I'll do, I'll flip the camera around, and we'll come down here. So you can do it by the key, and obviously you've got your button here. So if I come in here, press this twice, maybe you have to hear it go in. And we'll come along, and you've got frunk here. It's not massive. You know what? It's not really, really big, but it's enough space so that you've got enough space for the cable. So you've got your nice case here. That's your Type 2 to Type 2 cable. So we'll get that zipped up. I mean, we've put a blanket in here. We've got some emergency spares in here. And then we've also got the vehicle to load adapter that we spoke about earlier. So this is your vehicle to load adapter. So with this, it goes into the charging port of the car. and I've got it open with one hand, you've actually got just a normal 3-pin socket. So you can plug this to the outside of the car. If you're, say, camping, etc., plug it in and you can run everything off that. Okay, so the other bit we've got to talk about is the digital key for this car. I've mentioned it a couple of times in this video. What this car has the option of doing, instead of having the physical key, we've got the digital key, and that is a key that links to your phone, your watch, etc. So I've got my phone here, and I can do it all on this phone. So if I double tap that, I've got, use my face to unlock it so it's nice and secure. And I've actually got that here. The key to my car is in this. So if I've got this, I can push the button, that locks it. Push a button that unlocks it. It links either to my phone or my watch, so one or the other. If I've got it in my pocket, I can start the car. So I've not got the physical key, and it works just the same as it would do normally. No different at all. The key's at home, I've got the digital key in my pocket, locks the car, starts the car, everything you would expect the normal key to do. The only thing it can't do is that smart parking that we looked at earlier. You have to have the physical key in order to do that. There are a few other security things. When you're setting the digital key up, you've got to have both the physical keys in the car whilst you're doing it. And there's a couple of other things like setting up your fingerprint scanner. You've got to have both the physical keys in the car. That's for security. So if someone does steal it, they can't change everything without having a physical key. Okay, so we've got Robert in the front of the car now. Wave, Robert. Obviously not driving because he's not old enough yet. But what we wanted to show you, so whilst you're charging this car, you might want to have a little bit of a relax. Depending on how long you're there for, it could be 10 minutes, could be an hour, depending on the charger and the speed of the charger. So this car, in both the driver's seat and the passenger seat, has something called relaxation mode. So Robert, why don't you show us how that goes? So you can see he's pressed one button and it's moving. And what it actually does, you can see it lays back, the feet rest comes out, and it just rests back, just for you to, relax, have a rest, have a sleep whilst you're charging. And that's just a one push button. You've got your footrest, it leans back, and then if you press it back, it goes straight back as well. So there's no faffing around with any seat settings, anything like that to lay it back. It's just a one push relaxation setting. And I tell you what, these headrests are really comfortable. They're nice and soft. They've got a bit mesh in here, and they sit forward, and they're really nice. And these seats are lovely. Are you comfortable, Robert? Yep. Right, jump out then. Okay, James, you're going to show us some of your secret holes here. So we've got James in his seat. We've got a nice little bit of control, storage space down here that we can put things. We've got your heated and ventilated seat controls here. You can see, James, can you stand up in here? James is tall enough, he can stand up without even hitting the roof. So, where's your secret compartment, James? So, in your GT-Line S 6-seat version, you pull it out, you've got a great big storage compartment here. There's a tray that pulls out a bit further. Can you pull the tray out? You've got a little bit of a tray there, space, and then can you open it? And you've got a nice big storage space, and that's where James puts his Xbox controller in there for when he uses it with his iPad. Let's close that up. So it's a really good use of space in this car. There's plenty of space in here. And we've put some extra trays in here just to give a bit more space. They just go in the cup holders. You've got the 2 cup holders there, and now we've got Louise in the back, sat in her seat. You show us the reclining bit.
A button here.
Yeah, you press the button.
So you've got one that goes forward, that one, and then one that goes back.
A bit of electrical reclinement. And then, like I say, you've got all the vents in the roof. Can you point to the vent?
The vents, one is here.
Vent there, and then you've got the vents up here, and they've even got their own climate control in the middle there if they need it. And again, great big handles to get in, loads of space.
Here,
yep.
and one here.
You wave bye.